Welcome to the year-end series of awards for 2022. The time has finally come, everybody. This is the big one that everybody's been waiting for. This is the 2022 Game of the Year Awards. We got a special one for you this year, guys. I've been working on this. Actually, I've been working on this since January. Now, as you know, every year I do Game of the Year. And every year, I start in the beginning of the new year. And through the year, I write down what games stood out for me the most. Not going by the mainstream media, not going by what they say. And it's a very important list, and it's very tedious and involved. I spend a lot of time on these games. I do my own thing. I do my own journalism. One-man band here. We don't have a group of people playing and trying different games for review. It's all on me. I do everything from indie to AAA, everything from platforms to consoles to mobile to Switch to PlayStation, Steam now with the Steam Deck, PC gaming, everything in between. So I feel that I have a really good knowledge of the games, and I filtered a lot out. And this year, with a lot of my lists, I tried to condense them smaller. Now, we do have a honorable mention list that we're going to get through, and then we have a top 10. Now, I used to do 15, I used to do 20, I used to do 12. I condensed it to the top 10, the best of the best, right down to number 1. You could go back to the earliest days on YouTube. I have a Game of the Year for every year. And sometimes people don't agree with my Game of the Year. Sometimes they've been controversial. Sometimes they've been out of nowhere. Sometimes the majority of the people agreed with it. But every year I have a Game of the Year based on how that game meant to me. And I got to tell you, this year it was very close between two. This has happened before in the past, where you had a neck-and-neck fight at the end. This whole list was neck-and-neck. And we're going to get through the honorable mention, starting with The Last of Us Part 1. And the reason why this didn't make the list was because everybody knows I'm a huge Naughty Dog Last of Us fan. And I know people are saying this is a remake, kind of like how Final Fantasy VII was. But to me, it was still on the border of remaster. And I didn't want it to take up a spot of something else. Something new and fresh. So that's why I kept it in the honorable mention. But I still think it's a fantastic game. Definitely worth checking out, especially on sale. And they did a phenomenal job on this game on the PlayStation 5. I absolutely loved it. And I'm restreaming it over on Twitch, and we're doing a full playthrough. Stray. An amazing game. Was in my top indies video. For my indie awards. This game was great. Very different. It was very unique. Definitely won that unique factor. A game that stood out to me. And you definitely should check Stray out. Sifu. Another one. Another game that really surprised me. It was tough, it was hard, but very well done. Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and I know a lot of people are saying, oh my God, how could that not make your top 10 list? I didn't put as much time into it as many people did, but for the amount of time that I did put into it, it definitely was a very enjoyable game. I hope to go back to it next year. Rogue Legacy 2, another fantastic game. Great indie game. Return to Monkey Island. As much as I wish this could have been in my top 10, the top 10 spots I made really, really hard to land a spot in. And it just didn't make it in there, but it made the honorable mention. Glad to see Monkey Island come back. Glad to see Point and Click Adventures making its way back in. I grew up with these games. I grew up with the Monkey Island franchise. I got my Steam Deck in docked mode. I've been playing it on the PC with the mouse. Excellent game, excellent humor. Enjoyed my time with Return to Monkey Island. High on Life on the Series X, another great game by the creators of Rick and Morty. Lovely humor, phenomenal funny humor, great graphics, a great game. Don't miss this one. Check it out. Splatoon 3 was actually on the top 10 for the longest time before it got bumped down to honorable mention. Splatoon 3 is addictive. It's fun. It's basically, what you get with Splatoon. So if you know what you get with Splatoon, that's what comes with Splatoon 3. Fun multiplayer. And WWE 2K22. I do want to take a moment to talk about this game because I probably had the most fun with this game all year. Constantly go back to it on stream. And I did a lot of specials, holiday specials with this game. A lot of viewer appreciation. A lot of downloading, a lot of DLC. They finally kicked it out of the park with this game. And they fixed a lot of the problems in the past games. And WWE 2K22 was a well-made game. Now, for my top 10 video games of 2022, coming in at top 10 is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, played on the Series X. Man, I thought the story was really good. I thought the graphics were unbelievable, and the online multiplayer was great. The modes were great. The weapons were well balanced. The maps were great. It was the first time in a long time that I thought Call of Duty was back to the roots. They really, really did a great job with this Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. And that's why it secured a top 10 spot. Because of the amount of time I put into it. I even replayed chapters in the single-player campaign. And the online is just a complete and utter blast. Definitely worthy of the top 10 of the year. And coming in at number 9 is also the winner of the Indie Awards, Vampire Survivors, on the Steam Deck. This game is cheap. This game is not the prettiest game to look at. This game even plays itself. But this game is a blast. And it stood out. It was talk of the town. I was one of the first to start playing this game before it got a big buzz in the community. And once it caught wind, people were just talking about it. Now you could get it on iOS, Android. But I played it on Steam, and I actually had gotten it when I got my Steam Deck. And it's such a fantastic game. I guess they're calling it an auto battler, where you start off very weak. You see how long you can last. You upgrade yourself. You make yourself very powerful by the end. And you're just like killing every enemy in sight. And it's got that old school retro look. You could get it even cheaper than $5. I've seen it go for as low as like $3 or $4. The developer is, really putting his heart and soul into the game. It's free on mobile. And out of all games this year, this one probably stood out the most, the biggest talk. I mean, it really made the biggest talk. You could not ignore Vampire Survivors. So definitely comes in at the number 9 spot, and that's really something to make the top 10 spot, especially this year on this list. So congrats to that team. And coming in at number 8 is Gran Turismo 7. Racing games are hard to make a top list because they have to do a lot of things right. And Gran Turismo 7 got a lot of things in the beginning with the price of cars and the price of, They were calling it microtransactions. Gran Turismo 7 was a beautiful game. And I know they compared it to Forza Horizon 5, but Gran Turismo 7 was its own thing. And if you knew Murray and Jay Away and you followed me on Twitch, and also my HD gameplay right here, you knew I uploaded and played a lot of Gran Turismo. And I put a lot of time into that game. And that's a big part of the Game of the Year list, is how much time did you put into a game? This was definitely one where I put a ton of time into. Unlocking cars, doing quests, doing the logbook, the career book, the menu, the cafe, unlocking different parts of the map, going into competitions, upgrading my car, putting money into the car, going into races, going into Grand Prix, going into, tournaments, championships, and practicing and learning the car in and out. Gran Turismo 7 was just amazing. And definitely a step up from Gran Turismo Sport, which was a step away from the franchise. So Gran Turismo 7 took the 8th spot. And coming in at number 7 is Kirby and the Forgotten Land on the Nintendo Switch. An amazing Kirby game. It's always interesting to see what Nintendo Switch games land on the list. And, the family fun-friendly game, a really colorful game, amazing level design. I knew people that were non-Kirby fans that absolutely loved this game. It was a big talk when this game first came out. And the thing is when you think about Game of the Year and these lists, some of these games, it feels like the games came out long ago because they came out earlier in the year. And, by the end of the year, you forget about these games. Kirby was one of those games that came out a while ago, but stood out to me throughout the year, and I would go back to it. And you do not want to miss out on Kirby. And if you didn't play Kirby and you're a Switch owner, or maybe you're going to get a Switch for Christmas, you definitely need to check out Kirby and the Forgotten Land. It's just an all-around great game, and that's why it secured the number 7 spot. And coming in at the number 6 spot, again, on that same path of the Nintendo Switch, that's Bayonetta 3. Now, granted, Bayonetta 3 did a lot of things different than past Bayonettas. It tried different things. It went outside the Bayonetta box, if you will. But at the end of the day, I believe that Bayonetta 3 came together. The graphics were fantastic. It ran rather well on the Switch. I know that people have been complaining lately about the Switch's performances with games, especially third party. But Bayonetta 3 was one of the top standouts of the year. So that came in at the number 6 spot. And coming in at the number 5 spot is the Callisto Protocol. As they call it, the Dead Space holdover, but also by past by past developers of the Dead Space team. The Callisto Protocol was a very gory, creepy game. People were not crazy about the combat. Some people were not crazy about the story. A lot of people compared it directly to Dead Space, and I think that was one of the main problems. But if you stood it on its own and judged it from what it was, I think it would have did a lot better in the ratings. Do not pass it up. It was a great time. It was a very dark, spooky themed game. The graphics were phenomenal. Their production was really good. And you should check it out, at least if it goes on sale. The Callisto Protocol. And that was coming in at number 5. And coming in at the number 4 spot is Horizon Forbidden West. I did a full playthrough this year of the original Horizon Zero Dawn with Aloy. She quickly became one of my favorite video game characters. And Forbidden West was no different. It was a magical journey, and now that it's getting, the Burning Shores DLC. It's getting Call of the Mountain on the PSVR 2. It's such an amazing franchise, and I can't wait to see what happens in that series. It's definitely, I mean, think about it, the top 4 of the year. Now, I could definitely see this as being people's game of the year. And for a while, it was mine. Of course, other things happen. Other games come out. And as time goes on, again, this was another one that came out earlier in the year. But Horizon Forbidden West. Oh, can we talk about the graphics? Absolutely stunning. I always said one of the games to show off your PlayStation 5, especially if you got a really nice TV. Definitely a showcase. Do not miss it. Definitely one to play. And coming in at the number 3 spot is Pokemon Legends Arceus on the Switch. That's right. A game that came out early 2022. And a game that should not be forgotten. Now, I know what you're thinking. Sean, what about Scarlet and Violet? It's all about Arceus. Arceus was really a game that I put hundreds of hours in and still go back to. And for what it was, it did things never done before in a Pokemon game. And it really went outside the box. And a lot of what Scarlet, aside from the bugs, a lot of what Scarlet and Violet took after and was inspired by. But Arceus did it right, in my opinion, and did so much to bring to the Pokemon franchise for the future of the Pokemon franchise. And Arceus was just, I remember when I first played Arceus, I remember saying, this is my game of the year. This was back in January? So I was really, really impressed with Arceus. Such a massive game for the Switch, such a big, an open world Pokemon game. You could ride on Pokemon, and you could collect so many Pokemon. You could do tasks and errands and side quests. It was just really something. And it was just something different, but at the same time, it was a Pokemon game. Now, here's what's going to happen. The time has come. The time you have been waiting for all year and all holiday season. The Murray and JOA Game of the Year for 2022. We are moments of it being announced. So we got the last 2. I'm going to announce the last 2. I'm going to let you hang for a minute, and then I'm going to announce the winner. It's down to it, guys. Now, if you've been following me and you've been following gaming, you probably know what I haven't mentioned yet and could probably figure it out. And especially if you've been following me all year, you probably know what my last 2 are. You just don't know what the winner is. In the last 2 spots of my list for Game of the Year 2022, Elden Ring on the PlayStation 5 and God of War Ragnarok on the PlayStation 5. You want to talk about a neck and neck fight. But at the end of the day, I believe I made the correct choice as far as for me. Now, you may disagree, you may agree. I think we could both agree that these are definitely the top two games, whether they're the winner or the second place. They're definitely the two of the year. If ever there could be a tie, it would be this year with these two games. These two games really broke the rules, the boundaries, and turned so many heads. I mean, you want to talk about how many awards and, the games made history. I mean, Elden Ring did so many things that even a From Software game never did. And the game was brutally hard at the same time. And you don't really see a lot of games being that hard, get so much praise. And of course, you have a game like God of War Ragnarok that came from a game like God of War 2018 that was just flawless in that year, but also came from a franchise already well known, being God of War, but completely different gameplay style, and really turned the character of Kratos into a completely different character. And then, of course, Elden Ring, really being its own thing, but having that From Software history of being brutal from the Dark Souls and Demon Souls games and Bloodborne. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the Murray and J08 2022 Game of the Year Awards is God of War Ragnarok. The story, the gameplay, the graphics, the adventure, the upgrade system, everything is a flawless winner here. And, Elden Ring right under it. Aside from the brutal difficulty, it was right there. But I think God of War had the heads up for a lot of reasons and for a lot of categories. And I think God of War Ragnarok in my opinion, blew 2018 out of the water. And I thought that was a great game. Ragnarok really listened to that game and did so much more. And I know there's people saying, oh, it's just a DLC. Oh, it's just an expansion. But you know what? People say that now about everything. People said it about Forbidden West. People really say it about every game now. Ragnarok was so much better, and the fights were more fun, and the enemies and the environments and the dialogue and the character progression. Just an overall great game. You had phenomenal voice acting from Christopher Judge. He did a phenomenal job. They took this franchise and they really brought this franchise back better than ever. And, I was a big God of War 3 fan, and old school God of War. And I always wondered, well, how's this game going to come? How's it going to be like, as an adventure game, as an action game? They really took this game to new levels. And Ragnarok really took the game as far as from 2018 to a whole new level. And that's why God of War Ragnarok is the Murray and J08 Game of the Year, with Elden Ring coming in second. Guys, what do you think about the Game of the Year awards, my list, the top 10? What do you think about the honorable mention? Any games that I didn't mention that are on your list? What was your Game of the Year for 2022, and what do you agree with me on? And was God of War Ragnarok anybody else's Game of the Year, or were you a Elden Ring fan? Or an Elden Ring winner of the year person? Let me know. And comment below. That's it, guys. That's the Game of the Year awards for 2022. Have a Merry Christmas. Have a Happy New Year. Stay safe and enjoy the content and can't wait for 2023 with you guys. Be well, everyone.